Stop trying to build a unicorn when a racehorse will get you to where you want to be fast enough. I meet many tech founders and they all want to build the next unicorn business to make them billions. But why? Unicorns are mythical. They aren't real. And just because somebody has built an Amazon or a Google or an Uber doesn't mean that you will. And I don't mean that to dampen your spirits in any way. You will not find anyone more encouraging, more positive than me, but it's sometimes not helpful to think in those terms. I built a racehorse business that gave me a great life and which I ultimately sold for an 8-figure sum. It was achievable, life-changing, and far better than chasing mythical creatures. Let me explain. So first of all, you only really hear about unicorn businesses. These are the ones that make the headlines. These are the ones that were the first in the space, the ones that achieve multiple billions of valuations, the one that gets all the headlines. They're the founders that are speaking on all of the podcasts, and that's the information that we consume. They're the ones that are writing the books. And so we look up to them and we think, wow, maybe one day, what if I could build something like that? But what I found was they're not necessarily the best businesses to look up to. Some of them have got there through luck in that they were the first in the space, perhaps, but more than likely they've got there through incredible hard work. When I was growing my business, I had 2 young children. Each child that you've got is also a startup in their own right. I could have succeeded perhaps more in my business, but succeeded less with my children or with my relationship with my wife or with my health. What we're trying to do is we're trying to succeed with everything, and everything good comes at a cost. So if you want something huge that's going to make billions and you want to put in a ridiculous amount of effort to get there, it's going to be at the expense of something else. And you don't have to strive towards that. There are better goals to achieve, in my opinion. The next thing is that unicorns all need investment, whereas racehorses just need strategies. You might want to take investment on in your business. And I see so many businesses celebrating, I've just had another round of investment. We've just completed this seed round, blah, de blah, and generated all these millions. And I look at them and I don't envy them at all, because I know businesses that have got those investments, and what those founders have now just taken on is a job. They have now become answerable to someone else who wants that money back many times over in the future. And so you have just fundamentally changed what your business is. We never took investment in our business. We relied on strategy instead, the best strategy. And sometimes if you don't have investment, it forces you to make better decisions. Sometimes if you've got money that you have to burn through, you may burn through that and not achieve the results that you want. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was to burn through the cash. You can get another round of investment. Whereas if you don't have that money, it's forcing you every single time to make better decisions. We used to exhibit at trade shows, and our main competitor, who'd had tens of millions of dollars of investment, they would have a bigger stand, a more elaborate stand, spending more money on it. Because it was our money that we were spending, I remember looking at that and thinking, I don't think this is a good return. It's a one-time event that we're going out there and spending money on. So what we did was we chose to reinvest that money into videography and into building out our marketing department and expanding our social media reach and the video content that we were producing. And all of those decisions came prior to the pandemic hitting, when you couldn't do trade shows anymore. So when the pandemic hit, we already had our online digital strategy rocking and rolling, generating content that was out there, earning us clients, generating us income 24/7 that we could dine out on for years to come. When we sold the business, all of those digital assets got transcribed into different languages, into French, into German, into Spanish, and continue to take that business into different territories. That one-time trade show that was done 3 years ago isn't doing that. It can't have that effect. So to my mind, that wasn't a good investment. And if we'd been given money and taken huge amounts of investment, we could have made that bad decision too. But because it was our money that we were spending, we had to rely on strategy. So to my mind, you shouldn't be chasing investments. You shouldn't be celebrating it. You shouldn't be cheering other people on who are getting it. You should be cheering the SaaS business and the tech businesses and the AI businesses that are doing well in spite of that are relying on great strategy, that are acquiring great customers, that have got a low cost of customer acquisition, that are maximizing their lifetime value with better strategy. As I mentioned earlier, unicorns come at a cost. Racehorses bring joy. Everything good comes at a cost, and there's going to be an expense for you to pay if you want to pursue a unicorn business. That's going to be time, it's going to be energy, it's going to be health, it's going to be relationships, it's going to be relinquishing control because you're going to need investors. And so if you want to pursue that, that's fine. But to my mind, I didn't want that. I wanted to enjoy life. I wanted to take my kids to and from school every day. I wanted to attend every sports day. I didn't want to be off traveling all the time. I wanted to be at home with my family, and I still wanted to scale a business that was going to give us the life that we want and ultimately exit for a life-changing sum, which wasn't billions, but it was millions. And that was what we were aiming for. What is the cost that you're prepared to pay for the prize that you're aiming for? And to my mind, I did not want a unicorn. I wanted a racehorse. And the final bit of advice doesn't come from me, but from Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary V was someone that we always looked up to throughout our journey, and we used his content to really inspire our marketing strategy. And when it got to the point where we're starting to get offers coming in, and I started to see what those numbers were, I started to get excited about those numbers, but also your mind starts going and thinking, but what if? What if we push a bit further? What if we go for another few more years? What if we try and get to that amount? And it's easy for your mind to take over. So I had a phone call with Gary Vee, and I told him kind of the offers that we were starting to get and asked for his advice. And he says, I know what you think I'm going to say based on all the content I produce, which is hustle and go for it and take it as far as you can. That's not what I'm going to say. He said, sell the business for that amount of money. It'll be absolutely life-changing. And then once you've got it and you've secured your financial position, so you and your kids never have to work again, once you've got that solidity there financially, then you can go again and get to the next level and the next level and the next level. And I see this as a problem with some tech founders, some startup founders, in that they're thinking, I want to get to the billion mark to sell, right? But what if you sold your first business for 2.3 million, right? It would transform your life. And then you use that position to go again, and you sold your next for 5.6, and then 8.4, and then 20.3, and you built up that way to get to a billion, perhaps one day in 10, 20 years time, which is fine. I don't want to dampen your spirits. I'm not saying don't build a unicorn. I'm not saying don't strive for that as some mythical point in the future, but I'm also saying, let's just be realistic about the next step. Let's just get to this point, because on that ladder towards that goal, there are still rungs that you have got to take. And you can take those steps to secure your financial position so that you're not operating from a position of fear, so that you're not having to take investment, so that you can stay in control of what you want to do, so that you can enjoy it, so that you can not have to pay a price for your achievements, and that you can gradually build up to that point. I think the dream of a unicorn is beautiful, but I think the reality of having a racehorse that gives you the life that you want and that can potentially be sold for a life-changing sum is far, far more exciting.